Live.
Live on Facebook, so I guess we are good to go. So hey everyone, I just want to thank you all for just coming back here again and watching these wonderful lives that I've been putting on for the last few weeks. And with me is Libby, and I met Libby in March because Libby actually painted my portrait. And I was so impressed with her compassionate nature and just her ability to bring somebody's story, their personal journey to life in color, that I have just waited for this opportunity just to chat with her. So Libby, I'm so thankful that you're here.
I'm so happy to be here. This is gonna be fun.
So I know that you are a live painter. This is what you do, but there is always a process, this creative journey, this creative process to get there. And I just want to know if you'd be willing to share with our audience just what that all looked like for you.
Yes. Where to begin? Okay, I am one of those people, and you'll hear this a lot with artists who are like drawing sort of the oh my goodness, fundamentals, pencil, sketch, paint, that they've been doing it most of their lives. And I can't remember a time when I wasn't drawing. And this was heavily influenced by my family. My dad was an artist, still is an artist. He's a graphic designer. But I remember just like going through all his old college assignments and sketchbooks and just thinking like, oh, I wish I could draw like that. And it'd be like funky, like 80s stuff, like bits of planet floating in space, and there's like a frog on it. I thought it was the coolest thing. And he did some muraling around our very small town. It's like up north Missouri. And he'd like let me color in the little sketch of it. Like I have a very fundamental memory of like holding a brown colored pencil and like sketching in a little oxen. It was cute stuff. So I always had a sketchbook, always took it around with me. I would dedicate like hours at night to like picking out a picture from a magazine, like a girls magazine, and just trying to like draw the models that were in there. No matter what they were featuring, I would just try to like and looking back now, they're very, very scary, but they were fundamental in learning how to draw people, which was my favorite thing to draw.
Yeah.
So I think like during high school, I really, really treated art as a hobby. I did not think I would go into it professionally. At that point, I wanted to, there was like a time I wanted to be an architect. I wanted to be a director.
Yeah.
Like very tangential things to art still, but I was like, it's not art. Like I'm not going to be an artist, because everybody, I was a quiet kid in school until I wasn't. And that, people would be like, oh, Libby, she's like so good at drawing. And it was my defining characteristic. And there was a part of me who was like, no. I do more than that. But I learned to like love that and love that part of me. So by the time I got to end of high school, I decided, okay, maybe I'll go into animation. And I was looking at all the schools I could go to. I applied to, I think, 4 different universities and only 1 state school. So most of them were like art universities. There's like the big name Disney one, Cal Arts. That I did not get into that. That's a master's program. I had no business applying to that. I applied to one in Minnesota, one in Chicago, and the Missouri State University. Right. And it was down to Chicago and Missouri State. And like I am somebody who was like raised in the Christian faith. It was like, spiritual, like listening to God was like a very big part of my life. And I would say still is. And we kind of did this experiment almost, where there's a passage. I know this is like a little bit different than like your other interviews. Okay. There's a passage where, and I never remember the name, but a father sends his servant into the town and is like, hey, the gal who's gonna come up here and water your camels, like that's gonna be the guy that you like need to bring on back for my son to marry. And it was like this, we are gonna like let God choose in these like predetermined conditions. Like this is how I know what will be the right answer because we've like set it up beforehand. And I was going to either like Missouri State, which great school, but like wasn't like art school, or it was like super expensive like art school. Which like would have been a problem, but we'd like deal with it later. And I had like missed the deadline for honors college from Missouri State, and it was like, okay, if we call and they say like, yeah, you can still be in the honors college and you can like still live on the honors college floor, I'll go to Missouri State. If not, I will go to School of the Art Institute of Chicago. And they let me in. It was like way past the date, and they were like, yeah, we have one more space left on this floor, it's yours. And I ended up going to Missouri State, and I, looking back on that in hindsight, it was the correct decision. Like I met so many people who are fundamental in my journey now that I don't know like what my life would look like if I hadn't gone there. Because I did go into their animation program. About halfway through, I decided I didn't actually want to be an animator, but I was like gonna stick it through and just do something like peripheral to animation. I didn't know what that was yet though, but like all the while, like these people that I was meeting just boggled my mind. I like so many of my friends, I was like, how do I know you? Like you are the coolest, most influential like person. Like so many fantastic women who just like shaped me and like grew me as a person. And I took a painting class junior year and senior year, and oh my gosh, like I had always painted for fun. Also, I am just rambling right now.
No, I asked for this. Okay. I asked for.
I know. I was like, oh wow, I'm talking a lot. So I was doing these painting classes, and the first year it was kind of more like fundamental stuff. I skipped painting one, like I asked very nicely and they let me. So like right into painting two, we get to use all the colors and do like model portraits. But it was in painting three, met one of my favorite teachers, Sarah Williams, who was like very like, yeah, go for it. Like if you've got this idea, you've got this vision, go for that. So backing up a little bit, I got a scholarship to go to Florence, like the summer between junior and senior year.
I mean Florence, Italy.
Florence, Italy. I know, it's like the bougiest thing. It was like all paid for by this very, very generous, it was the Hagen Scholarship Foundation. And they were like, actually, you guys have to study abroad. I was like, twist my arm. Like, guys. And I got to go to like all these like churches and museums that had this like original Renaissance art.
Beautiful city.
Oh my gosh, have you been there?
I have. I spent 3 days there in Florence. Oh,
I'd go back in a heartbeat. The only thing, I don't know why they don't have ice. They need ice. Let's see. But like, okay, so I'm looking at all these like, and all that art from around that time period was very, very religious. It was like very centered on the Bible. And I noticed like we've got these huge panels of like grandeur and I don't know, like majesty, all of this. Like it's something you walk in there and you're like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh. It's all roped off though. And it's all like there's something very, very lofty about it. So I got back and I like had this idea on the plane ride back from Florence that were God active in our lives, that is not what it looks like. You know, like God is in the place that like my grandma does like not want to think about often. Like I feel like I have seen so much love from like drunk girls in the bathroom that I would say like that's Christ-like love.
Wow.
um
Yeah. Yeah.
um so like, you know, like where Jesus walking with us today, I do not think that he would be like chill with everything. Like I think this is gonna get controversial. Like I think Jesus would be like pro-choice. I think like Jesus would be standing up for Black Lives Matter. Like, you know, he would be in there, he would be an activist, and like a lot of people that like would be like Christian peers would not agree with that. Um, but like I just think that like God is very active in the places that like God is needed, and not these like we're gonna be in the church and pretend everything's fine and that the world isn't on
What do
fire.
you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, right. Exactly. Exactly. I agree.
So like that informed, I did this painting series my senior year where I took like my college peers and kind of set them up so that they were like doing these like Renaissance poses, but it was like this is the sober driver. Like it was all kind of like fraternity party based and all like drunk girls in the bathroom. It was like you know, like one girl was like fallen and everybody was rushing to help her. And it was all modeled after different kind of styles of photos from these like religious Renaissance paintings. Um, and so that was, I was like, oh, I forgot that I love painting. Like this is a really big part of it.
Yep.
And I was like, but I'll never do it. Like,
Oh
you
my God.
know, for like a job. I'll never paint for a job. This is like just my thing, my set. Little did I know. So at the end of my senior year, I was very, very fortunate to get an internship with Cartoon Network, which was like out of nowhere. I feel like most of the decisions in my life have been things that I'm like, I gotta do this now. Like it's just a feeling, like a
Right.
gut kick.
Yeah.
And I saw their post one day. I was like, I gotta do this now. And I made the entire application video in one day. It was like, if it's not submitted today, it won't happen. I did it. And then I didn't hear anything for months. And then turns out like they've been stalking everybody that like applied the whole time. Yeah, you know.
Yeah, right.
Looking at the social media, seeing what everybody's about. And like they liked me, they liked what I had to say. I did a large part of mine on dealing with body dysmorphia and like, you know, how like the women in my life that like I thought were super rad. It was just sort of this like altogether feminist, like body empowering submission. And they liked it. And I'm okay with that. So for a year, I got to basically make like encouraging, empowering content for the Powerpuff Girls. And it was so good. It was like their pilot program for their internship.
Yep.
Oh, it's like bonkers. And it's the thing that I like love to drop, like, oh yeah, I've worked for the Powerpuff Girls and all that.
Right. That's so fun.
I thought I was gonna go right into Cartoon Network. I was like, this is my in. This is animation world. And then the pandemonium hit, and that did not happen. A lot about the world changed very rapidly. And me trying to like get into Cartoon Network was like no longer even a thing. Because like they closed their doors, they laid off a lot of people that I had even been working with. So I was at home for that time in my little itty bitty town, living in my parents' house, which was I felt very fortunate to be there because I was sheltered from a great deal of that like initial shock of everything closing down. Because it's kind of hard to like have the same experience in that small town as it like would hit as hard in the city.
Yes.
So I got to just like kind of have I was working as a graphic designer in that town. They had to close their doors though. I got laid off from that. So I just did
You had lots of shifting.
lots of shifting, and it was a time I remember like making little angsty comics even before like actual COVID-19 that I was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with my life. Like I wrote this one about like how do you know like what the right direction is. Like I feel like I have this ticket for a train that's coming that I like don't even know where this train's going and like when it'll be here. Like what if I miss it? So it was just like a big time of uncertainty. I had a couple friends who were in the town with me, and we all just like had late night deep talks about like, what do we think life holds for us now.
Yes.
Um,
Necessary
and
talks.
it was, and a lot of them, my friend had a pool, so like we'd just be out there at like 2 a.m. looking at the stars of the country. Oh, 1 second, I do have to cough. I'm so sorry.
Okay, really.
How do I mute? Okay, we're good. And I did use that time. It was kind of silly actually. I started watching like little cartoons and anime and making fan art for them, and posting that on TikTok. And boy, I found a community of artists who were like in very similar places, like didn't have a job right now, had an abundance of time on their hands for the first time, and I joined a Discord of these artists. So there's like a large pool of people, and I found like ladies my age who are also drawing like the same shows that I like to draw. And slowly we just kind of moved into talking more and more, FaceTiming. And like suddenly I just had this like group of friends that were like, you know how they're like, don't talk to strangers on the internet.
Oh yeah.
I was doing that every day. And even though the world, like my walls had gotten smaller, like the world got bigger and bigger. And like I've got a BFF in Canada now, and Philly, and Virginia. And so like that was a really, really big blessing of that year. And it was one of those friends who first sent me the live painting video, the first one that I ever saw. And she said, you could do this. And I thought about it. I like watched it. I was like, I could do that. And I thought about it some more. And it was like one of those, like, I gotta do this now. Like I gotta start now. And I did like a couple of like practice paintings. I had a friend who was getting married like in a few months. I messaged her. She was familiar with my work, and I was like, how would you feel
if I just
like if I gave this to you as a gift? And she was like, of course, super thrilled about it. So even looking back at that painting, I've learned so much since then, and like have technically improved, and just like, you know, the bride and groom were like too small on it. Like I painted exactly what I was seeing, and that was like the back of a lot of people's heads. Like going back, I'm like, wow, we've made it a long way. But like, so in the meantime, I like moved to Kansas City. I got a different job at a physical therapy company, which was random.
Oh my
yeah, I know. Like it's the weirdest journey. They needed a social media person, but very rapidly they were like, actually, we need somebody to go to doctors' offices and like give them bags of Cheetos. It was a weird time.
Yeah.
I I actually met my partner there, so it was like another good timing. He's a physical therapist, and both of us no longer work there. But like in all the while, the live painting was just growing and growing. And I did two, I think like for free. And I posted them. I had a third one lined up and it was like mysteriously canceled. I wish I knew so much more about that, but I but I like posted a few on TikTok, and that got me a few more bookings, and then like a few more, until I did, I think it was one, and they reached out the week that the wedding was, and they were like, hey, everybody else is booked, you want to come paint this? And I was like, for sure, I don't have anything going on. And this was like Tuesday, and I'm painting that Friday. And it was the first one. It got like 10,000 likes on TikTok. And then one of my friends was at the first wedding I did, and they had me do a different surprise wedding for one of their mutual friends that was getting married. And it was that one. It was, trying to think, I think it was down in Harrisonville, Missouri, and I showed up, I hid, I got the painting done of the bride and groom, and then when I posted that one to TikTok, it got millions of views, and it was bonkers, especially because I was transitioning over my TikTok from like all this kind of fan art fun stuff to the wedding painting. Like all of my views had died off, like nobody wanted to see the wedding painting. There's like, where's Naruto? I'm like, he's not, I don't have time for Naruto anymore, I'm so sorry. But like this was the first one that it was very, very validating. People were like, oh my gosh, this is like the best one that I've seen. Like, and it was like, I was doing this for 3 months total, like at all.
Right.
And I got booked out in like different places. I don't know, like this year, because like this is now I'm getting to the weddings that were like booked last year.
Yep.
Had one in Virginia. I just went to North Carolina, which is where I got all this. Like I have one in Colorado, Georgia, like so many.
You're all over. I look at your Instagram and different things I'm following you. I'm like, and here I am in Virginia, and then I'm, you know, and I'm waiting for these type of posts. And now I am in Japan, and now I'm, you know, like I'm just waiting because
I am too.
It does seem like it's really blown up for you. So what caused you to want to make it a business? Was this, I mean, because it was blowing up and you were like, I could really make money at this?
Yes, because I didn't know like professionally at that point like what I wanted to do. I do have also a day job once again now, but it's work from home, and I love it so much. Like I'm gonna keep doing it. So I'm just like a chronic worker bee, but this one is like social media content. But I would love like the dream right now is like do live painting full time, like live on some sort of farm thing, like basically have a house. That's a goal. Have chickens.
Yes.
I would love some chickens, and just paint, and also be able to paint in my free time. This is like a long way off, but
you never know.
You never know.
I think it's a long way off.
maybe
6 months from now, you'll be like, you know, Ellen, remember when I said it was a long way off? It's like right around the corner.
Oh, that'd be nice. That'd be nice.
So can I ask you a question? Because I believe as a musician, I'm a musician, and I find it very therapeutic, and I find it as a way for me to connect with the universe at large. And there's always like a restorative factor and a healing factor that can come through art and come through creativity. So I was wondering if you could just speak to that a little bit, because I remember when I did art in university, I had 2 classes. I had one where everything had to be perfect, and it didn't go well for me at all. Then there was the other instructor where they were just like, do whatever, just be free with it, just like have fun with it. And I actually enjoyed it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I enjoyed it. And my confidence grew. And then I've worked with a lot of art therapists and different things like that over my time. And it just feels like it is something that can bring healing to our planet, especially in a time like this.
I agree. Goodness, I don't even know where to start on that. I think what like art means to me in making it, and like where I do find that therapeutic quality, I do so much portraiture that like, it's very seldom that I'm like, this is something that is just coming from my mind. It's always something that's already existed, something that's I'm mashing up, or like just giving, I think, like honor to. Like that's what a lot of my portraits are, is like memorializing something, whether that's a moment or a person, like the way a night felt. Like I'm finally starting to think about like what I want to paint next for me, and something that was like really calling my name was some old photos. I'm like talking 5, 4, 6 years old, just like my friend group in a parking lot, like really, really late at night, all talking on a summer night. And it's like kind of blurry, it's really low light. But like I do want to give that moment some honor, because like some of those friends are no longer here. And just like note that moment, note how good it was, and give it like a place to hang and like kind of be immortalized.
That's what I felt you did with the one that you did of me. I felt like, yeah, that you like, I mean, that you took the story and you put it into a space and place that, I mean, it just touched me. I mean, the way that that was done, the way that it was brought forth, was powerful, really powerful. And I'm sure that a lot of people say that to you. Like I've seen some of the responses after you turn the painting around, or the bride and groom see it. It must bring you a lot of joy to know that you are highlighting a momentous moment.
It really does. I have to like be smart about that sometimes, because like during a live painting I've got so much like adrenaline and stress that I really, really like that I record it, because I can go back and like watch it and like go, like after all the chemicals have like left my body, and I can appreciate like what I've done. That like it does mean a lot to people, and so many people have very, very nice things to say that like if I think about it too much, it just like I'm just a girl from Missouri, and it boggles my mind that I get this opportunity to give people a moment of one of their favorite nights of their life. We hope. Like we don't know what better nights will come or worse nights, but like that is something that's so important to them, and I got to like drink it in with my eyes and put it on the canvas.
Yep.
I don't know. It's bonkers.
Could you see yourself? I know we talked about this when I was in Missouri, that I could see you going and traveling around the world and doing portrait shots, or shots of people in villages, and not shots, but painting. Would that be something you would consider doing, like capturing something in a different way? Like when you mentioned farm, wait, let me do something here. When you mentioned farm, I was thinking of when I spent time in the Himalayas, and there were the terraces that were going up, and they were all farming on these terraces, but the big mountain, I mean, like, the mountains were behind them, and it was absolutely gorgeous. And so when you were saying that, I was like, I could see you doing it.
I would be honored to. I am never somebody who's gonna like turn down something that would come along, if like my life angled in such a way that it's like it's time for me to travel. I think I see like a need for me here. I would totally do it. I am not great at travel, TBH, like short term, like flight to flight to flight. But I remember like when I did go to Florence and I just sort of like lived there for 4 weeks. That was amazing. Like just getting to walk around and be in that place. I think it's such a different experience than like, we're here, we gotta see the sights, we gotta roll, we gotta go.
Right.
So that is something I'd love to do. I remember looking at like impressionist painters in art history, and they would just go set up shop. I think Monet would just sit at the same train station and he would paint it over and over again, and paint it at different times of day, paint it different times of the year, paint it like with these people and that people. And just like work on capturing that light in that moment and the trains. I think that would be awesome.
Wow. Libby, I like you.
Thank you.
I like you. So I know we're gonna wrap this up because I said I would keep it about like 30 minutes for you. Is there anything that you'd like to share with people, just young people who are considering doing art? Because there are so many, I mean, some of these Gen Zs, I'm telling you, they may hate school, but I watch what they are doodling, which they call doodling. And I'm like, that is not doodling. Okay. If that, and they're like, oh yeah, this is just a little doodle. And I'm like, that is not a little doodle.
They're so powerful.
Yes.
If I was able to draw like that when I was that young, it'd be over. It'd be over for everybody. I think like, okay, number one, that the internet is very powerful in offering resources, because I see them, they're learning so fast, and it's like I did not have, the step-by-step tutorial access that like a lot of kids do. But it's a double-edged sword in that my biggest advice for like up and coming artists would be is like keep your own sketchbook. Like don't feel the need to post, because it's so discouraging sometimes if you work super hard on something and then it like doesn't garner any attention. And that like kind of takes away from the fact that like you created this, you worked super hard on it, and it looks amazing. Like the internet's fickle, the algorithm isn't always going to serve us.
It's the weirdest thing.
Mm-hmm.
I can get like 2 on a reel, and then the next day, like this one I just did, I suddenly got like 270. I'm like, how did that happen?
Yeah.
Like what is that? I don't understand.
It's so weird, and it punishes you if you don't post. Instagram specifically, like if you're not posting every day, it's like fine. Nobody gets to see your next post then. So I think that also, like, if you're drawing and you are feeling that pressure to just like make yourself do some sort of output, it gets to be like very unhealthy. Like I noticed during the pandemonium that like I was like, I gotta make something, I gotta post something every day, and I just wasn't liking what I was making anymore. So keep art, at least like a section of it, for you. Share what you're proud of, but like note that the internet is not always like gonna love something as good as it deserves to be loved. And sometimes sometimes it will. Sometimes it'll surprise you, but I don't know. Do it for you.
Do it for you. And I think that's like the greatest advice you can give is do it for you. Because that's where it comes from, right? It comes from your heart first. And that's what I was saying at the beginning, that you're like, I felt with the piece that you did of me, that there was total compassion, and that you got into the story, you got in it, and it came from here. And then you just produced it out there. And I can feel that. I can feel when somebody just puts something together and it's like really shoddy, and you're just like, okay, pal, what was that? I'm not sure what that is, but okay. But then where's that energy from here? which I felt on that piece. And then I see in some of the things that you're doing for these weddings, there's your winning piece right there, because it's all about connection. You connected not only with the art, but you connected with me as the one you were doing the portrait of. But then I see it in your things that people are connecting with you. They're not just connecting with the art, they're connecting with you, which I think is the big piece right there at the end of the day. So I like you, Libby.
I'm so tickled. Thank you so much, Ellen. I like you. I like you, and I am so happy that you had me on here. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for just sharing your story and a little bit of your journey. That means a lot.
Of course, anytime.
Now you go and take care of yourself.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a nap.
You have no place you're flying to, right? So you can just veg
I
out.
will not be going out now.
It all ends. All right. Hey, you're amazing.
Thank you so much. Do I just like hang
You
up
just
the
hit
chat?
end and I'm